Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's Bowen. I am a registered dietitian and homemaker. In today's video, I want to take you along for what I eat in a day during my first trimester as a registered dietitian. The clips in this video are real of me during the first trimester, which means I truly am tired, not feeling my greatest. So please note that you are getting the real deal. I recorded these in real time during the first trimester. In these opening clips, I am preparing breakfast. I believe I was making oatmeal and eggs this day. And also I am getting a jump start on dinner. Getting dinner started in the morning has been an absolute game changer for me because I can get one or two things going and it just makes the whole day so much better. So anyway, that is something I've been doing a few days per week. Before we start discussing what I'm eating in the video and actually taking you along through the day, I want to put on my dietitian hat and share some things with you about the first trimester. Please keep in mind as a disclaimer that this video is not medical advice and you should seek help from a healthcare provider when you're making changes. The first trimester hormones, progesterone and HCG, both cause some havoc in the digestive system. They are known to cause some slow digestion, so that feeling of like food just sitting in your stomach, that is a classic feeling for me during the first trimester. They can also cause nausea and sometimes even vomiting. So normally over time, the body will adjust to those changes and adapt, but things can get really tough for some people, throughout the entire pregnancy. Since we can't really change the fact that we have hormones in pregnancy that we're not really used to when they flood our body in that first trimester, it's only so much within our control during that first trimester. But there are a few things that I have found personally that help and also in practice as a dietitian. So the first thing is balanced blood sugar. And this one is hard because you don't feel like eating, but sometimes eating is actually what makes you feel better. So what leads to a balanced blood sugar is good balanced meals that have protein, fat, and carbs. So that's a little bit hard when that digestion is slow because my second recommendation is to try to choose easier to digest foods. Make it easier on your body since your body is already having a hard time adjusting to lots of hormones. So those two kind of go against each other. Basically, I'm telling you, balance your blood sugar, which means eat, make sure you're getting protein and fat, but those can be harder to digest. So it's a balance between those two of finding what works for you. I find that it helps to push myself to get a little bit of protein in throughout the day, even though I don't want to. Usually I feel better afterwards. So that's something to play with both of those things. The third thing is to choose an easy to absorb prenatal with good minerals and a form of iron that is not going to make nausea worse. So many over-the-counter prenatals have two forms of iron that are notorious for GI upset, and that is ferrous sulfate and ferrous fumarate. Now, everyone's individual, may not bother you, but there are studies that show that both of these cause GI upset. Ferrous bisglycinate chelate is one of the more absorbed ones. It's one that I personally take, and I've never had issues swallowing my prenatal or feeling like my prenatal makes me sick. So that is something to keep in mind as well. Fourth thing is more anecdotal. This is something I have found personally to work and also just my experience in practice. And that is drinking some mineral water, true mineral water. You don't need to drink it all day or whatever, but just here and there incorporating some mineral water can help. And it's also soothing to the stomach. So I'm talking about like Topo Chico type of mineral water. Another thing that kind of goes in with that same category is magnesium. That's another anecdotal thing that some people think that low magnesium is what contributes to their nausea. It's not really proven in literature that I'm aware of, but most people need extra magnesium. So it's something that I personally take and I usually will recommend to my client, of course, depending on their history, but a good magnesium can also be very helpful. And then number 5, if you have the control, it's good to start your pregnancy out strong. And what I mean by that is when I'm working with patients or clients and they're telling me, well, I'm going to try to get pregnant next year, I will actually normally recommend that they start a prenatal. Now, again, everyone's different, but that's normally my recommendation, is to start really trying to build the body up, focus on lots of nourishing foods, but also usually a prenatal to fill in the gaps. So if you have the control, that's always a helpful thing to do. It's not going to hurt anything most of the time. Now, I do realize I have had a surprise pregnancy before, and we don't always have control. But if you are planning, it's nice to plan for adequate nutrition as well. Now we are going to jump into the video where I'm going to show you by my example of how I'm doing it for myself, how I put these foods together, how I pair things to try to keep my blood sugar balanced throughout the day. Okay, some of these clips are going to be voiceover and some I will talk to you in live time, but with the nature of having little children around, sometimes I just have to do voiceover videos if I want to show you things in real time. So for this breakfast, I did some fried eggs, some sausage balls, and a bowl of oatmeal. Now, I was also cooking for my husband and my kids, so I didn't eat all of what you saw. I can't remember exactly how much of that I ate, but I can tell you that I probably focused more on eating the oatmeal because that was something that was very soothing to me in the first trimester. And something I did to bulk up the protein of that oatmeal was cook in some cottage cheese and also a little bit of collagen powder. So I would just cook that into it, and then also with blueberries to make it taste really good. I did have a couple of sausage balls and eggs on the side, but I didn't have as much as I normally would. Snack time. I have this snack like every day when I'm pregnant. I don't know why, it just hits right. So I usually have beef sticks, so either one chomp stick or 2 of the mini Archer beef sticks, and then a pack of seaweed. This is really high in iodine, and I think that that's why I crave it, because it has a lot of iodine in it. So I love those, and then I usually finish it off with like a handful of chocolate chips, if that sounds good. And so that's snack, and so that's usually mid-morning, and then next will be lunch. So for lunch that day, we were kind of doing like a fridge freezer clean out, and I just put together with whatever I could find. We're having some grass-fed beef sausages, some homemade croissants that were frozen, and some veggies with ranch dip. And it's snack time again. So I am feeling a little bit ick. I normally do in the afternoon, or just at random times, honestly. So if you looked at my lunch, that's not really a normal amount of protein for me. I eat 30 to 40 grams per meal when I'm not in the first trimester, like as a normal baseline for me. But during the first trimester, I just don't digest a lot of protein very well at one time. So it's better for me to kind of divide it up through the day and try to have smaller meals, but with protein. Protein never sounds good, but I just find a way to get it in, and I know that it'll help me feel better, if that makes sense. So I'm having this conglomeration mix of cottage cheese, frozen blueberries that I microwaved, peanut butter, and cinnamon. And you could add a little bit of like sweetener if you want, but I don't really feel like it today. It's not very much, so it's probably like half a cup of cottage cheese and like a 1/4 cup of blueberries. But it should be enough to tide me over for a few more hours, and then I'll have another little snack. So that's just kind of what seems to work for me, is like small snacks frequently to keep my blood sugar stable. And this was our dinner. So it's always hard for me to get dinner clips because we're all eating together and there's kids and all of the things. So I slowed this down, like way slowed down, so it probably just looks really silly. But anyway, we were having like a chicken veggie soup that day with, I think, noodles. And that was something that was comforting, easy to digest with the broth, and chicken is usually more palatable to me. So that is something that I do like to try to incorporate during the first trimester. And to finish off the day, I had one more little protein snack of peanut butter and cottage cheese mix. That is it. I hope you learned something and enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.